Well, now that we've got a lull between the holidays and you might be ready just to sit back and relax, we have some brand new things.
And something that has been so much fun for the design team to play with. We have 4 new cutting dies.
Yay! And the design team has done some amazing things. You are going to see a scrapbook page and some cards that are going to knock your socks off. Are you ready? Come play with us. Well, here they are, the 4 new Paper Artist cutting dies by Hot Off the Press.
We have the 4 Seasons Tree, 2 oval doilies and mats, the Viney Swirl, and Love, and 5 hearts.
And let's take a close look at the Love to begin. We'll start with Love. Don't you think that's appropriate? Now, this, seeing it in the package, you see the black and white images, but I think it's better if you show us what they really look like.
Here is a stacked bit of all of the pieces of the hearts in general. And so you have this large matting piece in back. That's the one you see here.
And it's a scallop, kind of a ruffly edge.
Yeah, the outer frame. Then you have this scalloped frame. That's a piece that can sit right inside and be matted on that.
Kind of looks like a doily, doesn't it?
It does. Here is this beautiful viney heart, or swirly heart anyway. There's that one. And also you get this heart that comes right out of the center of the frame. We have a small heart here that's actually got another small heart inside, so that you can see both of them. And when you cut out this one, you get all these tiny little hearts that you can use as embellishments. And of course, Love goes right along with it. And I love that beautiful swirly Love font.
So we say a Love and 5 hearts, but you're saying no, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hearts.
Right.
Okay, we stand corrected. Okay, now let's move into some what can you do with these? Well, here is our first example. And as you can see, this is using the Penelope papers, great way to start. Mm-hmm. And the lacy heart and the solid heart have been done out of white.
Right. It's kind of hard to see. I'm just going to show that in the back you're seeing that big matted piece. Okay. And then on top of that you're seeing that frame that goes like that. Oh, it's
pretty in pink too.
Yeah, it is.
I like that.
And then you have behind this swirly heart, you see this heart.
In the green dot.
Right. And then in white you have, in white on the front you have that.
Yeah, you did that.
Swirly heart.
Now on the corners you have that little heart.
That tiny little heart. When the inside is out, then she took and hooked them onto the corners, tucked them behind it.
Very cute. And the Love over here. So a lot of the pastels, as you might think, and then there's a little bit of technique done with some of the pearl, liquid pearl.
The liquid pearls. So right in some of the areas where you see those small hearts have been popped out, liquid pearls have been put in those spots.
As well as the dots, and then around the edge of the card. And this is the crepe ribbon, and nice to put that Love on top of it. And notice that the crepe ribbon is narrower than the Love. The Love is taller, but that works nicely with a little heart, little bow over at the side.
And the Penelope paper pack, that's very pretty.
And then on the inside, the solid heart with some stamping and more of the liquid pearls.
It's a nice touch.
It is. Now a very different look is our next card, and look at that. Same elements were used, just done obviously in a different manner.
And on this one, that large heart right in the center has been foam taped up above that frame.
Oh, let me show you on the side so you can see that. Okay, so that's been, and we do have the red suede paper has been used to cut out that viney heart as well as the outside mat.
Right. And so it's such a striking contrast whenever you use suede on a lighter paper, and then Love was cut out in black suede.
And then we have the 2 little ones just interlinking over there on the corner, and we've added the fine line or thin line dazzles with the black jewel dazzles.
And this was done on a paper pack that we haven't seen yet.
Right, but you will next week.
Okay.
And this one doesn't have an inside. Now, I thought it was very clever with this next card because it is using a series of those filigree hearts. I would never have thought of stacking them.
Stacking them like that. That is such a sweet look. And it's on Simply Susan paper pack.
Right.
So there's even down here at the bottom, there's one of the hearts down here that has been cut off the edge of the paper.
Actually, it looks like this might be the top part of this heart.
Oh, that could be. It fit on there perfectly.
And you'll notice how just one of them has been backed with a paper.
Right.
And just a good look.
But if you also look close, all the tiny little hearts that we were talking about have been backed with...
well, or those tiny hearts were cut out of the... Right.
Cutouts. Yeah, so we showed the little cutouts. I'm going to show it on my finger here so you can see it. Here, there's one of the little hearts.
So you could cut
so
that
you can
heart.
cut those out and set them right back into the die cut.
And then some stamping on the edge and on the inside. Isn't that gorgeous?
What a wonderful idea.
So, oh my.
Okay. All right, so the heart, first, I'm going to show you. So this shape of heart was used first to cut out that heart in the paper. I believe. Am I wrong about that?
Yeah, I think you are.
Oh, okay. So they actually use this to cut out.
I think so.
Oh, okay. So this shape of cutting die was used to cut out that part of the paper,
and then
that part that was cut out was set right back in there in place, and that was done at the bottom and up at the top as well.
Very clever. Let's back us so we can see both of them at the same time. Very, very. So the idea now, this is cutting the heart in half vertically, and here's cutting the heart in half horizontally. Very clever. That's our Susan. Now, let's look at what Amy has done. She's done something very different.
Something bright and exciting and very Christmassy.
Now, one thing that she did, now, even though this is Christmas, just kind of set that aside for a second and look at the technique, because you're going to see this is that big scallop that's offset from one of the plain ones and then another of the plain one, but this part is glittery right there. Now the dazzles are too, and it's attached.
And it's raised.
And how is that?
Well, some things were done with that. Right off the bat, here to show you this, acetate was used.
And here's the acetate. This is a 12 by 12. And the reason why we like to use these is because you get the benefit of the printing at the top, but you get a lot of space that's empty. So Amy used one of these.
And she used that swirly heart cutting die to cut it out. So here is the acetate part. This is not going to be on your card. It's not going to end up on your card. It's going to be used as a tool.
Right.
This is now a stencil.
Exactly.
Now, here's a piece.
Which I would never have thought of.
Here's the piece that she used it on, cut out, and I placed it on cardstock so it would be a little easier for you to see here. But she placed that acetate. Now it's going to be really hard for you to see. Now it's sitting right on top of that heart.
Okay.
And then I'm going to use stencil tape to anchor that down. And Amy said that it was important to start at the top and anchor it down at the top first.
So it wouldn't slip?
Well, so that when you're all done and you want to take this off, you can pull it up like a hinge to remove it so you don't ruin the work that you've done.
Okay.
We were going to use embossing paste. Oh, I didn't tape it down. We're going to use embossing paste on this and use the heart as a stencil.
Just don't stop and demonstrate that to your neighbor.
Oh, I have to re-tape it. Okay, so a little tape up there. And then I'm going to, just for our purposes of being quick, I'm going to use some sticky notes to sort of go around the edges that I don't want the embossing paste to get on.
Oh, okay.
So I don't want to get outside of that heart. I want to stay on the inside of that heart. Okay, I'm showing you what I would do if I was going to go all the way around, but I'm not going to take the time to go all the way around this time.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty good example of what it would look like all the way around. You have the edges covered with stencil tape or sticky notes. Then you have white embossing paste, which is right here, and a mini squeegee. The other thing that Amy mentioned is that, especially when you're using acetate as a stencil, you want to have kind of a light touch because you don't want to ruin that, you don't want to ruin the stencil or have it tear up. The acetate is a little bit delicate. Okay, I'm just going to swipe it across. I'm going to start at the top and kind of lightly smooth.
And you want to just bring it in one direction, as you saw. You don't want it to lift.
And you want to try to make it in one swipe if possible. It wouldn't have lifted, by the way, if I had taped it down all the way around like I was talking about, but I was in kind of a hurry.
So what you want to see is that all of the areas are filled in with the paste. And
I think I pretty well did.
pretty close. A little bit right there, maybe.
And then we're going to remove it like this. If you were to take a little bit more time than I just did, you would get a little bit better result than I was showing here. But that's the technique, to use acetate, to die cut acetate and use it as a stencil.
Okay.
And there's that hinged part that we were talking about. You want to take it off at the top. Now, before that dries...
Is it okay to remove that?
Sure.
Okay.
Before that dries, I want to use micro glitter on it. I'm going to grab a piece of paper to put under there.
Now the micro glitter comes in a tube like this. Ours comes from folks at Stampendous, and this is clear or white. It says crystal micro glitter. Okay?
And it's very fine. If you haven't seen us use this before, it's more of a powdery substance than it is a glittery substance. And it doesn't take very much, but I'm going to kind of layer it all over there so it gets all over real quick.
And you want to do this while the embossing paste is still wet.
It's still wet. I'm doing it before I give it a chance to dry. I'm going to sort of shake it around a little bit on there and then tap it off. Okay.
And what you have is this glittery, sparkly piece.
Yeah, I think you can see it just a little on there.
Yeah, and let me show it
dries,
to you.
You can see it a lot better when the embossing paste dries.
So that's what was done. Then those hearts were layered as you see them, and some stamping was been done down below. And on the inside, simply the heart, a little bit of inking along the edge, and the love overlapping the heart. And I like how it kind of goes off the edge.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very pretty.
Very
those are some examples of the heart. Now, the viney swirl. Now, this is quite a significant size. It is 4 by 5 inches, so it's really pretty massive.
It is. And this is how it looks after it's been cut out. Of course, you can do it either direction, but that's beautiful, I think, just on its own like that. But I also want to show you the piece of paper that I cut it out from. Then creating a window like that is another way to use it, and you'll see that.
Yeah,
in some of the
beautiful.
projects here.
Okay, here is our first example. And by the way, every single product has an idea on the back, and that idea is using the product that's in the package. Now that sounds obvious, but not every manufacturer does that. So it's something that Hot Off the Press takes great pride in doing. And this is the example on the back of this package. And you can see that beautiful swirl just all by itself.
All by itself, and really nothing done to it. It's done on pattern paper, and it just takes up the whole card.
And we have, because it's so large, you can just really let it become holding that focal. Right. And we've done some layering of some of the wildflower flowers.
Right. I believe that there is some distress painting done on the paper flowers.
And this has some gold jewel dazzles in the center, just a whole bunch of the tiny ones, and the jewel dazzles at the ends of the flourishes.
Right. On the edges of the paper, you can see the gold jewel border dazzles too. And this is on the Stolen Moments paper pack.
And then down here, because this is so significant, you can go with just a small stamped image or just a little piece of paper with your message on it. And on the inside, here it is turned a different direction. Now this time it's kind of going opposite, and it still is just lovely.
And I believe the tiny tags and labels template was used for those.
And one thing, I want to get in close to the flower because I think that whole pile of little tiny dazzles is just very striking.
Isn't it cute? It looks like the center of a sunflower or something like that.
It is gorgeous, both on
Beautiful.
color and on white. Now, are you ready for this?
Okey-dokey.
Here is the vine swirl, and it has been gilded, and this is amazing and beautiful. Now, we've got the design tool has been used to do the shape of the card as well as the inner area, but look at the vine. It is shiny, it is glittery, and it is silver.
It's beautiful, and I'm going to show you how to do that in just a moment.
Okay, let's see.
Okay, so what I have here is one of the new Zing embossing powders. These are amazing. All of our design team really loves these, especially Susan wants to make sure everyone knows. If I can look at it one more time.
Sure.
She says what is wonderful about this is that these are glittered embossing powders. And she says it is so fast to just emboss whatever you have with this and not have to put glitter on it afterwards. You just do it in one step, there's your glitter, and because it's heat embossed, it's embedded in there and the glitter doesn't really come off.
Okay, show us.
Okay. All right. So here I've got one of the vines that Susan used here. It's white, but you're going to see what it does. Oh, I know. I've got it on black. Even better.
Yeah.
There, now you can see it. And we're going to start with the Versamark.
And you're just going to do a little piece of it, right?
Right. Just a little bit so you can see how it works. You do just part of it, and you really want to make sure you have a well-inked Versamark. Get that all over it. And before you put the embossing powder, you're going to have to put it on a different piece of paper, or you're going to get that the embossing powder stuck to the Versamark. Then you put on the Zing embossing powder.
And actually, that's exactly what we want to happen. We want the embossing powder to stick to the Versamark.
Just on the cutting die, but not on that big piece of paper back there. All right, that's on there pretty well. And you can see it on there pretty easily. Now I'm just going to emboss that.
Okay,
So I've
get
got
your heat
my
tool.
heat tool, and because I didn't emboss anything on this end, I can go ahead and hold it on here. If you wanted to emboss the whole thing, you could hold that in place with the tip of a knife or a pencil or something, just so it won't blow around. And here we go. This happens pretty quick, actually.
Oh, it does. Oh my gosh, it's happening already.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's the transformation is actually pretty incredible.
Wow.
Now you've got an embossed viney swirl.
That is magnificent.
It is. It looks metallic now and very glittery.
It does. And then, now what Susan did is that she cut hers apart to have a cluster over here and another cluster on the side.
Right. So over on this side, you have this part here, and then you have this bottom part cut off and used over there.
Exactly. Exactly. Because it's such a nice size, you can really do quite a bit with it. Mm-hmm. And now she's also used some of the petaloo flowers beautifully.
Which are just beautiful. I love those. They come in different colors and they have tulle and just a very beautiful look.
And then on the inside, oh my, she's zinged another one.
And it's taking over the whole background here with just some die cuts and journaling on
I
top.
like how she's nestled this inside. It looks like it's hugging it. It's beautiful.
It is.
Now here is another look, and this time it's playing with some of the paper tulle. And this is the Frosty Flakes paper tulle, and these have been stacked in the center using foam tape.
Right. This is on the
Fresh Frost
paper pack, the 6x6 papers.
Now, as we back up just a smidge, there, that's enough. We can see how she's cut two of the viney swirls and placed them going out from the center of the snowflake. And look what it does. It takes a snowflake that's a couple of inches wide and makes it 6.5 inches.
It does that. It sort of spreads it across the page. This is great that she placed them back to back. So I'm going to turn this until I get it right where she had it. Here we go. So this is the way it is on this side. and then you turn it around and put it like this on this side. Now you're going to have some pieces left over, like there are either pieces in the middle or on the ends that you're not going to use.
And actually, you could just layer them, so you can end up just using them lots of different ways.
Or put them on the inside.
Right.
Which is what she did.
Voila, which is what she did.
There
Actually, bring that back. Let's see the ends.
Out. So these ends didn't fit on the front of the card. She just trimmed them off even with the card, and then there they are, wrapped around the corners. And I like that part of it is underneath, and then it's coming out, and then it's overlapping on top.
It's just spectacular. So if you can use this as a template, so she's covered her card with the one pattern, this time the stripe. She's put a dot in the center and then taken her focal but made it so much bigger by using this. Now, you showed us the evacuated space, but here it is done in a finished card.
So that looks like there's a die cut sitting on top, but it's just like this. It's that spot in the middle where the die cut was removed, and now it's a window to see that green paper underneath.
Now, the one thing that's been added is out of this patterned paper, these little pieces have been glued back in place. You could do that or you could not.
Right, so those come out when you do the cutting die, you get those pieces.
Isn't that just gorgeous?
I love these large pearl blossoms. These are acrylic pearl blossoms, and they come in a lot of different colors.
Right. Those are from Queen, and these are the Friends and Family dazzles. Oh, look at this on the inside.
Oh, beautiful.
So
right off the edge.
The piece that you cut out, use it on the inside, but I love how it's going off the edge.
Off the edge like that. It's almost magical. It's
very
beautiful.
Clever. Now, are you ready for a scrapbook page to die for?
Sure.
Okay, look what our Lene has been up to.
Look at that.
Isn't that marvelous?
That is beautiful.
This is a 12 by 12 page, and Lene has used the circle template to do a very large circle out of the black paper and placing it on the dot. This too is a paper that you'll see next week. Okay. Focus on the cutting dies.
But we also have some additional cutting dies besides just the viney swirl. We have the Bodacious Blooms cutting dies
here. And that was a cutting die that we had earlier in 2013, and here it is. So it's nice to bring this back because it's nice, of course, to continue to use it.
So in this page, we've used the medium size and the small size flowers, the blooms for this, and you can see them stacked on top of each other. The edges are inked, they're curled up, but then that beautiful swirl throughout.
Look at that.
It's been cut several times and just laid end to end going around.
Yeah, there's probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them cut out of black cardstock and just laying around that edge, sometimes going off the edge of the circle, mostly staying on the inside. I just think it's gorgeous.
And going off into the photo as well. It's framing that photo. It's just a beautiful photo, and so a beautiful layout to support it.
This is, again, something you want to remember. That's the Viney Swirl. It does a great, great job. Now, our next one that we're going to explore is this, and it is 2 oval doilies and mats to go along. So, going to show us?
The great part of that is the mat part, because here you've got the oval doilies, and it starts like this. A small oval doily, and there's the mat that goes with it. So you don't have to cut out around that detailed. You've got that done for you with the cutting die that comes with it. And then you've got a larger, very large oval doily, and there's the mat that comes with it. And these look great on suede. I loved it on suede and holographic paper. This is wonderful.
It does. Well, speaking of holographic paper, that was a nice. Here it is with the Simply Susan paper. Now, we talked about acetate earlier with the hearts. This is also, this window has been cut out and backed with a piece of acetate on the back of it.
So the mat cutting die was used, a large mat, to cut that window, and then acetate was placed in, and then the doily, the large doily, was cut out in holographic. But I also placed the mat for the smaller one in the center of that so I could get a cutout in the center.
Oh, I see.
So here, I'll show you. So I cut this one out of holographic, but I placed this cutting die in the center of it when I cut it out, so I'd have a cutout center.
Oh, good to know. I wouldn't have thought of that either. Okay, this is the holographic paper, and I think it's kind of fun to see that this is playful, it's bright. I don't know that I would have thought of it necessarily with this kind of serene paper, but it does a great job. So what you're seeing is not as much the circles as you are the shine.
Right. And this is done on the Simply Susan paper. And this part right here is from a separate piece of paper that has been cut out. That border artwork was cut out and placed on top of this.
There, so that makes more sense, doesn't it? Because now you've got the oval behind it. Then on the inside, that's where we're also seeing the that inner piece that's already been cut.
Has been matted on an oval.
Right, beautiful. Plus, it also lets you use that acetate again. Now here is another, and this is a stunning combination. This is done on the Stolen Moments paper.
And more of the holographic paper.
And the suede. So the brown suede with the brown holographic that I am constantly astounded at what the design team does with this.
Because it's fireworks.
Yes.
But when you're using it something that has, it gets cut, then you don't see necessarily that it is fireworks. It's just shiny and beautiful.
Just think brown and shiny, and there's not a whole lot that's brown and shiny in the market, so I think that works.
These are some of our new dazzles.
Right, that you'll see next week. But we're focusing on the cutting dies, right? And again, you can see that we've got the big oval, the doily, and then we've got the mat, and then we've got the mat of the smaller one on the inside.
So it can be used
Beautiful.
a bunch of different times in one spot.
And yes, those are dazzles. And this one doesn't have an inside, so.
But that color combination is just beautiful on the Stolen Moments paper pad.
Now this is another of that same kind of color combination, but using the suede paper, and this is the gold paper.
The gold metallic
It's not a
paper.
holographic, it's just a gold.
And in this case, the small oval is turned sideways with the large oval sitting this way.
Right.
And these are some of the new botanic dazzles. I'm losing the name of them. They're scrapbooking dazzles, and you see them poking out. You look on the gallery, you'll find the names to them. I'm sorry that I've forgotten. And a little bit peeking out behind here and on the opposite corners.
Now you see this with dazzles, but you know what? You could cut these out using that viney swirl, and you're going to get a similar effect.
There you go, out of the metallic paper.
Yeah. And then on the inside, the small lace doily and the mat. So doing a nice job placed also horizontally on the inside, just like it is on the front. Now, this is another combination, and I thought this was really interesting because this piece looks so big, but it is this one cut in half, right?
So what you're seeing is this one. Okay, so first of all, you've got it here this way with that mat behind it and the small ones in the center. But when you get here, you turn it this way. And cut it in half, and then you put it at each end of your card.
Very interesting. And we'll get in close so we can look at the edges too, because a hole was punched and a piece of ribbon had a knot in it, and then the ends were threaded through that punched hole, and you get this little knot on top, which just is a nice little piece.
It's sort of like a rosette on top.
It is. And you can do some inking, as was done here, or just simply do it with the pattern paper. And this is out of the Artful Card Kit.
Yeah, the Cider Artful Card Kit. So here's some of the die cuts from that set.
And then on the inside, just giving you lots of room if you wanted to do some writing, and just using the two mats in this particular case.
And then just some of the die cuts swirling around that mat.
So doilies can go vertically, horizontally, you can layer them. Now I know we just had Christmas, but kind of had to bring this just to show you. Again, the layering of them, and the reason why I wanted to show you this was because the mat of the smaller one just creates a nice frame but then to take the small one and turn it and make these little petals.
Right. So just cutting them in half and using them on the bottom.
Right. And this does have an inside simply with dazzles on the smaller oval doily.
And while this is a Christmas card, this could be transformed into a happy birthday card.
Truly,
to a sweet
yes.
girl, sweet boy.
Exactly. Now, our final cutting die is this Four Seasons tree. Now, we call it a Four Seasons tree because we've got the tree, but then we also have hearts, we have snowflakes, we have flowers, and we have leaves. So you can do all of the seasons.
Right. And here's what the die cut looks like. It's this large tree. It's just beautiful. And all of those little pieces
Right. I just
can be used on the tree.
Exactly. And a couple of years ago, we had a stamp that was called a love tree. And this is just a grown-up version of it, but made into a cutting die so you can have it forever. And this tree is 3 7/8 by 4 1/8. So it's, as I said, a significant size.
Right.
Now, you can go through all the seasons. So we'll start, and here we have just some of the flowers. Now, the flower actually is 2 flowers. So you get this, a large one and a small one out of each.
And the smaller flower is found inside the larger flower. So it's the inside that pops out.
And the leaf is a 3 leaves on one.
3-lobed leaf, right.
And that's been used with the flowers and the jewel dazzles.
You can also cut those leaves separate and put them on individually, which I see has been done a couple of times on this tree.
Okay.
This is the Gypsy Jewels paper pack, which I think is a perfect match because you've got this ombre blue sky behind and then just this torn bit of green, which looks like grass.
For the hillside. And I also like the fact that it has part of a tree right over here. And on the inside, we've just got more of the flowers going along the scenery there. So that's one season. Here is another season. Now, this is also a mixture of the suede and the holographic snowflakes. And aren't those gorgeous on a blue suede tree?
They are beautiful, and some little bling, tiny bling has been placed in the middle of each of those, which is just makes them pop out even more. But what I like best about this for myself is down at the bottom, they were used to evacuate space in these 3 spots, and the center of those small snowflakes was set back inside to decorate the center.
Very, very nice.
Yeah.
There's also some Color Me paper up here. This would be the white.
I didn't notice that before.
And it's simply been sponged with some ink pad.
Just beautiful. That's just, I mean, you don't notice it until you look at it for a minute. That's kind of a nice part of a beautiful card.
It is.
This little stamp comes from one of the small stamps,
right?
Small penguin stamp.
And on the inside, there is more of the Color Me, right, with some more of the die cuts, both at opposite corners. So I like this shading technique that she's done. Beautifully done.
Okay, so that was winter.
That was winter, and we have a very fall looking. This one simply in black with the leaves on it.
And and the leaves are actually in black. I didn't even notice that at first. It's beautiful. In the background, there are 3 strips of paper that were cut and glued in place. Then a glue stick was just run across those papers, and different colors of glitter were sprinkled on there.
And this also has some of the pave crystals from our friends at Queen. Just a beautiful shimmery look.
And this great, down at the bottom, this great bling on a roll.
Right, and it comes in black. Now, the black is in limited supply, so I just want to tell you that. We do have the white also.
What you're seeing here is the way it comes, which is 2 rows of rhinestones together like that.
Right, and they're on kind of a fiber look. So sending happy thoughts, and then on the inside, just taking those leaves. Now, the leaves are kind of embossed also. So they have a raised area in them. So beautifully done. And this last one, I think, is a very favorite tree for me. I love how it is offset from using the circles. Now this is the 8 circles and scallops cutting die, which has, just as I said, all of them. And you can see how they have been, cut out of the papers. This is another new paper set.
But the tree was placed on this paper that was already cut out with that circles and scallops cutting die, and then trimmed to the edge of the paper. But she did a little more with that tree than just that.
I see a shine, and there's almost a dimension to it. So.
And that's because there's 3D crystal lacquer on there. And Amy took some of this and she just went over that die cut. I just placed it on cardstock so that you can see what it would be like if it was sitting on that paper. And you just go over, don't shake the bottle or you'll get bubbles.
And you don't want bubbles.
Right, you just start squeezing it and moving it around. And I right away squeezed out too much. You're not going to do that like I did.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah, and just start moving it around. It will just stay on there if you don't put on too much at once.
That's funny.
You can also, Amy said, and here I'm going to do it, you can just use your finger and sort of spread it around a little too. If you need to.
The other thing might be a chopstick.
Oh, that would work. Or a skewer. Or
a skewer, right.
That. So just move it around. And of course you want to let that dry a substantial amount of time. It takes a while for crystal lacquer to dry.
But it's certainly worth the effort and the wait. We have more of the Petaloo blossoms. And you see the 2 hearts. Those are, of course, from the cutting die. On the inside, something we have not even talked about doing is using it as a stencil. So simply taking your cutting die, the piece that you cut, and then sponging paint or...
I can show you just really quickly. There it is sitting there. I've got my sponge with some fluid chalk ink on there, and you just start going over it like that.
Just that hard.
And you can go out to the edges, get a little more ink, go out to the edges, and... let it sort of fade off of the edges a little bit. And there you can see it's a very light impression. Oh, wow. I hardly see it.
Actually, that way.
There we go.
There you go. I just need to get the camera angle.
Spend a little more time, make it a little darker if you like.
Now, the other thing that she has done is these are the hearts that are coming on the same cutting die.
Right.
She has put crystal lacquer on those and then glued them in place, as you see. So lots and lots of uses. Well, as I said, we have 4 new cutting dies. I'm not sure I can even find them on my table, but not just 4 cutting dies. We have hundreds of ways to use them.
Have fun.
See you next year.